The opening scene of the movie features a young boy named Nobin Chandradas, who sneaks a peek at a sweet shop where the owner is busy making various types of sweets. As he listens to a group of travelers singing a song, he joins in and starts singing along with them. When their short performance comes to an end, the leader of the group asks Nobin to offer something just like the others did. Unfortunately, Nobin has nothing to give, so he walks away, takes a lump of wet soil, and molds it into a ball. He presents it to the leader, who surprisingly blesses Nobin and tells him that he was born to feed people. The movie then fast-forwards several years, and Nobin is now a grown man preparing food for a family function at his uncle Knighton's house. His father died when he was young, so he and his mother have been living with his uncle and his family. During the function, none of the guests seem impressed with the food, except for one unique dish that Nobin made. When the guests ask to meet the chef and give him a tip, Knighton introduces someone else as the chef and takes credit for the dish. Nobin confronts his uncle about it later, and Knighton tells him that he doesn't want him to be known as a person who makes food for others. Nobin expresses his desire to become a confectioner, but his uncle disapproves and asks him to leave their family if he wants to pursue that career. Enraged, Nobin walks away from his uncle's house, at least for a few days. After his mother encourages him, Nobin starts working at a sweet shop owned by an arrogant man named Kalidas Indra. Although he is excited to work alongside other confectioners, Mahesh and Hemant, Kalidas only allows him to work as a helper and look after the customers. However, while he's on duty, he observes Hemant making the sweet dish and suggests adding raisins to enhance its flavor. Though Hemant refuses, Mahesh supports Nobin and encourages him to experiment. Later, while he's managing the shop, a girl named Kiradmani Devi rushes into the shop and hides behind a wooden rack. Nobin is surprised and asks her what she's doing there, and Kirad explains that she's playing hide and seek with her brother. Nobin asks her to leave the shop, but Kirad introduces herself as a guest and asks him to offer her the best sweet dish. Excited to impress her, Nobin presents her with several dishes, but she doesn't seem to like any of them. Later, we find out that it was all a plan to enter the shop and have sweets for free. When Nobin steps out to keep an eye on Kirad's brother, she slyly slips out of the shop and runs away. In the next scene, Kalidas discovers that Kirad had eaten 16 of his sweet dishes and had not paid for them. Furious, he threatens Nobin that if he doesn't find the girl and get the money back, it will be deducted from his salary. Distraught, Nobin goes to find Kirad and eventually tracks her down playing with her friends. When she spots Nobin, she runs off and hides in her house. Nobin follows her inside and explains the situation to her mother, who gives him the money. However, as he steps out of the house, Kirad pulls him aside, bites his hand, takes back the money, and complains about the sweets. She agrees to pay Nobin back only if he makes a sweet dish as per her request, a white, round dish that will melt in her mouth and be called Rosogolla. Excited to experiment, Nobin agrees to her request and walks away. The next day, Nobin asks Mahesh for some cottage cheese and sugar and begins making the dish as Kirad described. He tries to make a round ball with the cottage cheese, but as soon as he tries to fry the balls, they tear apart into pieces, wasting a lot of cheese and oil. Later, Kalidas enters the shop and scolds Nobin for wasting expensive ingredients. Nobin tries to explain that he's trying to make a new dish, but Kalidas doesn't listen and slaps him. Afterward, Nobin is seen at a big bungalow where the owner asks him to make a special sweet dish for her son-in-laws. Nobin agrees and creates a dish covered in mango pulp with juice inside. The son-in-laws enjoy the dish and praise Nobin. Unfortunately, Kalidas discovers that Nobin charged less for the dish and accuses him of making a loss. He fires Nobin and demands the lost money. Nobin's mother apologizes to Kalidas and manages to return his money, but Nobin's uncle Knighton gives him an ultimatum to leave the house in 7 days. Nobin agrees and, with his mother, moves to a small rented house. After being fired by Kalidas, no one in the market will employ him, so he takes a job as a garbage collector. Nobin's mother is embarrassed by this and encourages him to pursue his dream of becoming a confectioner at any cost. The next morning, Mahesh brings Mr. Chandu, a businessman, to meet Nobin, who is impressed by Nobin's innovative abilities and offers him a partnership. Nobin happily agrees, and Mahesh also joins them. Nobin and Mahesh start working for Chandu at his shop, and a customer arrives with advance money to make a unique sweet dish for his son's wedding. However, Chandu takes the money and disappears from the shop, leaving Nobin and Mahesh unaware of the order. In the next scene, Kairad, the granddaughter of a confectioner, receives a marriage proposal from Nobin's family. Initially angry, she agrees when she hears Nobin's name. They marry a few days later, and on their first night, Nobin tries to make the requested dish but fails. When he returns to the shop, he discovers that Chandu has taken the advance money and is nowhere to be found. Nobin goes looking for Chandu and finds him at a bar, but he doesn't care about the situation. Nobin is devastated when he realizes that the syrup has been contaminated with opium, and the sweets he makes using it cause guests to vomit blood at a wedding, leading to Nobin being beaten up and his shop being shut down. After the incident, Nobin feels defeated and stays inside his house. Mahesh encourages him to start a new shop, and Kirud gives him her jewelry to get some money. Finally, Nobin opens his own confectionery shop opposite Kalidas's, but it fails to attract customers. Kirud calls him lazy, and Nobin walks out, joining a pilgrimage group to sing at a foreigner's mansion. The foreigner, Mr. Paulo, is impressed by Nobin's singing and gives him a cake made by him, which Nobin likes. Paulo shows him the recipe for making soft cottage cheese, and Nobin decides to use this recipe to make Rosogolla. When he returns home, he unites with Mahesh and begins following Paulo's process of making soft cottage cheese. After successfully making the Rosogolla, Nobin takes Kirud to taste them and receives her approval. He puts them out for sale at his shop, but no customers show up. When a father-son duo stops by, Nobin offers them the Rosogolla instead of water, and they love them. The father buys all the Rosogolla in the shop, giving Nobin hope for his business. Following his success, Nobin's Rosogolla become a hit with the people of the town, and business starts to soar. To express his gratitude, Nobin visits those who helped him during his difficult days and offers them a taste of his delicious treats. He also generously shares the recipe with many other confectioners, eager to spread the joy of his creation. In the next scene, Kalidas hatches a plan to patent the Rosogolla in his name and enlists the help of Amritl Banik, a patent registrar. However, when a servant informs Amritl that Nobin taught him how to make the dish, Amritl changes his mind and approaches Kairud with the idea instead. She suggests that Nobin patent the recipe, but he dismisses the idea, causing a rift between him and Kirud. As time goes by, Nobin decides to visit Kalidas, his old nemesis, with a box of Rosogolla. Although Kalidas initially refuses to try the sweet, Nobin politely insists, and Kalidas is surprised by the perfect taste. He apologizes to Nobin for their past differences and even requests to learn the recipe of the dish. Nobin, being the good-hearted person he is, agrees to teach Kalidas. In another scene, a beggar-like man enters Nobin's shop asking for food, and Nobin welcomes him warmly and feeds him. The man, surprisingly, turns out to be Chandu, who had fled after Nobin got beaten up for serving poison sweets. Chandu finally confesses that he had accidentally dropped opium into the sweet syrup and lacked the courage to tell anyone. To everyone's surprise, instead of getting angry, Nobin forgives Chandu and recalls the sweet dish that he had prepared that day, naming it after Chandu's real name, Vaikuntagangli. The final scene shows Nobin visiting Kirud at her mother's house, bringing the Vaikuntagborg with him as an offering. Initially, Kirud refuses to speak to him, but she eventually tastes the dish and forgives Nobin. The movie ends with Kurad asking about the ingredients, and Nobin replies that the dish can only be made with love. I hope you're enjoying the content that I'm creating. If you like what you're seeing, please like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to tell me what I should fix or improve on in the future. Your feedback is greatly appreciated, and it helps me create better content for you. Thanks for your support.